Hi guys! So in today's video I'm going to go over my IVF medications that I got, as well as some things that I'm going to do to hopefully increase my chances during our frozen embryo cycle. So if you don't know me, my name is Linny. I have a 15-month-old little girl, and my husband and I are currently trying to conceive baby number 2. We will be doing our second round of IVF. The first round resulted in our little girl that we have now, and our second round will hopefully bring us baby number 2. So we are going to be doing a frozen embryo transfer, and these are the medications that I will be taking for that. So as soon as AF arrives, we basically get to start the process. And the first thing that I am going to do when AF arrives is start taking my estrogen, or my estrace, which is estrogen. During my fresh transfer, I took patches, and this frozen embryo transfer, I'm going to be taking pills. And I have to take 3 pills a day until I am 10 weeks pregnant. So that is when IVF starts. But let's see what we have in here. I have the bill, which actually wasn't as much as the fresh transfer. Okay, let's see what we have here. So I have my doxycycline, and I'll go over what all this stuff does. I have my progesterone and oil. I should have 3 of these. Another progesterone and oil. Here's my 3rd progesterone and oil. What is this? This is the estrace, or estradiol, the estrogen. These are less and less of syringes. All these goodies. These are the needles that I'll be using for these syringes, because when you draw it up, the needle is bigger than the needle that you actually poke yourself with. So, goody. I have more needles. Did they give me 2 different sizes? Okay. So they gave me a 19 gauge needle and a 22 gauge needle, so I guess whatever I feel more comfortable using. Which I believe the smaller the gauge, the bigger the needle. Is that correct? This is my Medrol, and the methylprednisolone, I don't even know how to pronounce this, but it's basically Medrol. And then my fancy little sharps container. So what they didn't give me was alcohol swabs, which isn't a big deal. I can get my own alcohol swabs. But that's basically all I got for my medication. It is so different than when I did a fresh transfer. I have about not even half of the amount of medication I did when I did my fresh transfer. But basically, like I said, we're going to start with the estrogen pills, which are where? Right here. These are like little teeny tiny pills too. So I'll be taking 3 of those a day. So the estrogen basically just helps improve your lining of your uterus. So we want to build a nice, good uterine lining for that baby. And then, so I will take the estrace for 2 weeks. So from the time I get my period for 2 weeks, and then at 2 weeks I go in for a lining check, and if everything looks good, then I will start my progesterone and oil shots. So the progesterone and oil, as you see, it is an intramuscular shot, so I'll be putting it in my bum, and I'll probably be doing it myself. So I will draw up the medication, and then I have to change the needle, because the one you draw it up with is huge, and then you do the intramuscular shot. So I will start this. If my lining check goes accordingly, then I start the progesterone and oil that night. I will take it for 6 days, and then we will do our frozen embryo transfer on day 6, I believe. Day 6 or 7. I think it's day 6. And then I also will have to do the progesterone and oil shots until I am 10 weeks pregnant. So that will be fun. I'll be nice and bruised up for that. The progesterone is the pregnancy hormone, basically. So when you get pregnant, your body naturally produces progesterone, and it keeps you from ovulating as well. So in a fresh transfer, you have to take birth control. They basically stop your cycle and restart it yourself so they can control it better. With the frozen embryo transfer, I'm not going to be put on birth control, so progesterone, I believe, is what will keep me from ovulating. And then I have 2 antibiotics, I guess. So the first one is doxycycline, and there's quite a few of these in here, but I believe I will take this 4 days before we do the transfer. And basically the doxycycline helps to control bacteria that is created that might affect implantation. So again, something that helps with implantation and prevents bacteria and stuff like that. And then the other one is Medrol, and I believe it's the same. I think I'll take it for 4 days before we do the transfer. And the Medrol is actually a low-dose steroid that helps with inflammation in your uterine lining that can cause you to have a miscarriage or for your body to reject the pregnancy. So that is what the Medrol is for. And then I have my sharps container, which I'll put all my needles in. So that's that for the medication. It's like so simple this time. There's like, I feel like there's nothing to it. Yeah, so I'll talk about some of the things besides the medication that I'm going to do. Obviously, when you go through a IVF cycle, you are going to need Band-Aids. Band-Aids are huge for all of those shots that I'm going to be doing, especially because they're intramuscular. I think they're going to bleed a little bit more than the other ones did. That's the other thing I'm going to need, gauze. So I'm going to need gauze and alcohol swabs as well. So I'll mention that now so I know for later. So the Band-Aids too is a good thing when you do the intramuscular shots, because you're supposed to rotate from one butt cheek to the other. And if you put a Band-Aid on the cheek you last did the shot in, then you'll know to do the next cheek on the next night. So yeah, so I'll just have to do 1 shot a day and then rotate butt cheeks. And the gauze is good not only for bleeding, but you're supposed to massage the area so the medication kind of spreads throughout where you're injecting it, even if you're doing like stomach shots. Like I know when I did my fresh transfer, I always used gauze and definitely massaged that area probably for a good 5 minutes after I would do the injection, just to make sure that the medication was spreading throughout that area. Yeah. Another thing you're going to want to make sure you're doing, which I've mentioned in previous videos, is taking your vitamins. It is so important that you are taking a prenatal, specifically one with DHA. So if your prenatal doesn't have DHA, you want to make sure you're also taking that. It helps support brain development in babies, so you definitely want that. So I just take 1 a day. I have low iron, so I always take iron. But iron is also good when you're trying to conceive or going through a IVF cycle. You're supposed to eat protein with every meal, especially if you're not getting protein in every meal. You want to make sure you're taking an iron supplement. And I would just double check with your doctor and make sure they're okay with it. I wouldn't see why they're not, but you want to take this. And then the third thing I take is vitamin D3, which again is really great for a baby's development. And it's also great for you because you probably don't get enough vitamin D. I know I don't here in Ohio. So this one I take every other day, and this is the 5,000 IUs. And there's nothing fancy about the brands I take. Those are just the ones that I've always taken. And then the last thing I'm going to take is a low dose aspirin or baby aspirin. So I will start taking this when AF arrives. So once my cycle starts, I'll start taking this. And basically what the baby aspirin or low dose adult aspirin does for you. So let's see, this one is 81 milligrams each. So it's a low dose adult aspirin. Some people call it baby aspirin. Basically what it does is when your uterine lining is being built up, it helps to prevent clotting within your lining wall, which could, if you have clots in your wall, it's not a good environment for a baby to implant. So the aspirin helps to thin out your blood and prevent clotting. Another good thing to prevent clotting is making sure that you are getting a lot of exercise and a lot of water. So you want to make sure that you have a water bottle. I picked this one up at Walmart recently. Actually, it was pretty affordable. And the water stays cold in it all day. It's 20 ounces. So I try my hardest to drink at least 3 of these a day. So 60 ounces of water I'm trying to drink. And it just, I cannot tell you how important it is to drink a lot of water, especially when you're going through the IVF process. So I guess I'll continue talking about lining then. So another thing that I do is I drink a cup of bone broth a day, and I actually have started doing this recently even though my cycle hasn't started. But the bone broth, if you read about it online, it does a ton of other things. Even if you're not trying to conceive, it's good to drink a cup of it a day. I will say I am not the biggest fan of the taste of it. I mean, I think you can buy like different flavors. I think you can get, I just got the classic one, but I think you can get like chicken or beef or something like that if you want like a different flavor. I just do the classic bone broth. Again, there's nothing fancy about the brand, but this is also supposed to help a lot with your uterine lining, and I did this in my fresh transfer, and I think that it really did work. Whether it did or not, I believe that it did, so I am doing that again. Another thing you can do with your uterine lining is eat Brazil nuts. This is supposed to help with implantation. So I will say I bought Brazil nuts my first round of IVF, but I ended up not eating them. So I have them again for this round, my frozen embryo transfer. I don't know if I'll eat them or not. There is a lot around Brazil nuts though, and them helping in implantations. So you're supposed to eat 3 to 5 of these a day following your transfer. So I'm not sure if I'm going to do this again. I have them. Maybe I'll do it. I didn't do it in my fresh transfer, so that's why I'm kind of hesitant to do it now. I don't know. What I did do in my fresh transfer, though, is the pineapple. So I bought a whole pineapple, which I don't have with me right now because I'm not close to my transfer yet. But I will buy a whole pineapple. I believe you cut the pineapple, including the core, into 6 quadrants. And then starting the day of transfer, you eat 1 quadrant a day. So for 6 days, you'll do that. And that I am going to do again for sure. Yeah, so Brazil nuts, pineapple, they help aid in implantation. The next thing I have is sensitive soap. If you have done IVF before, then you know that you are supposed to be fragrance free during the transfer and during egg retrieval as well. So I have my sensitive soap that is fragrance free that I will be using. And then the next couple things I have, so again, on the uterine lining, you want to make sure that you are staying warm because you want your body to focus all of its energy towards your uterus and not have to worry about keeping your feet warm or any other part of your body warm. So it's good to eat warm foods when you go through the IVF process. So soups are great. I would stay away from like ice cream, anything cold. Just try to eat warm foods to keep your body nice and warm. And you're going to want some fuzzy socks to keep your feet warm. Keeping your feet warm is like the main thing. You want to make sure that your feet are warm at all times. I actually hate wearing socks, but I will sleep in these socks if it means that I might have a better chance to conceive baby number 2 for us. I did this with our first round. So another good thing you can do to stay warm, do not put this on your abdomen or your uterus, but you can wrap a heating pad around your feet as well, which I did do in the first round. Just make sure that you're staying warm and that you're eating warm foods so that your body can focus on creating a good uterine lining and growing a baby for you. And then the last things that I have kind of go hand in hand. I always buy these like little plastic disposable cups so I can pee in them because I do get a little crazy. And then I also, you know, have tons of pregnancy tests. So this is the Osom brand, or Osom. I don't know how it's pronounced exactly, but you can buy a big box of them on Amazon for fairly cheap. What I will say about this, you can get a really early line with one of these. I believe I used one in my fresh transfer and got a line 3 days after our 5-day transfer, which is really good. It does take a while for the line to show up, like probably 20 to 30 minutes, but you can get a positive pretty early. So I have these same tests that I'll be taking. And then of course I have a digital clear blue fertility test. So this one I will wait to take. So from the sounds of it, I'm probably already planning on testing before our blood test. I know myself, I know that I'm not going to be able to wait, so I have lots of tests already handy. And if you guys haven't seen my IVF line progression test from our first round of IVF, I will have that linked down below. It's pretty cool to watch. But yeah, so that is everything that I'm going to be doing and using for our frozen embryo transfer that is like just going to happen in the next couple of weeks. So that's so crazy to me. But if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you guys have done something differently that I hadn't mentioned, please mention it down below so that I can check it out and possibly try it for myself. If you guys are new to my channel, please subscribe so you can follow us on our journey to conceiving baby number 2 and hopefully throughout my second pregnancy. I hope you guys have a good day. Bye!